In 2008, a young prodigy fresh off winning the Champions League made history by becoming the first Brazilian to be crowned the Golden Boy of the Year. Anderson Luiz de Abreu Oliveira, a perfect blend of power, speed, and technical brilliance, was hailed as the new Ronaldinho. A global football sensation, Anderson burst onto the scene in his debut season with Manchester United, appearing destined for an extraordinary career. But unfortunately, none of that came to fruition.
Player in the world ever.
For me, the best player in the world ever, Diego Maradona.
Even worse, after a frustrating career and a surprisingly early retirement, the once promising talent found himself embroiled in a major financial embezzlement scandal, eventually landing behind bars. Today, we dive into the wild and somewhat heartbreaking story of the Brazilian Anderson. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The Rise of the Next Ronaldinho. In 2004, Brazil witnessed the emergence of its newest football prodigy, Anderson Luiz de Abreu Oliveira, famously known as Anderson. Blessed with extraordinary physical qualities, Anderson was a monster with the ball at his feet, combining mesmerizing dribbles with speed and strength that were unmatched for someone his age. These attributes quickly placed him in the lineage of Brazil's most celebrated football artists, earning him the nickname the new Ronaldinho. The comparison was fitting, not just for his technical brilliance, but also for his roots. Like the legendary Ronaldinho, Anderson hailed from Porto Alegre and took his first professional steps wearing the colors of local giants Gremio. His love affair with football started in the bustling streets of Porto Alegre's neighborhoods, where he spent countless afternoons honing his skills. It didn't take long for everyone around him to notice he was special, far better than his peers. This natural talent earned him a spot in Gremio's youth teams at an early age. But Anderson's journey wasn't without hardships. At the age of 14, his life took a devastating turn when his father, an alcoholic, died of a heart attack. The family was shattered, and as the eldest of 4 siblings, Anderson found himself thrust into the role of the family's primary provider. Friends from his neighborhood suggested he sell drugs to support his family, but Anderson refused. He placed all his faith in football, convinced that his talent could carve a path to a better life. A few weeks after mourning his father's death, Anderson returned to the football pitch with renewed determination. He doubled down on his efforts, training harder than ever while relying on the modest salary he earned from Gremio to support his family. Reflecting on those times in a 2020 interview with ESPN, Anderson shared, "It wasn't just about earning a living, it was about helping my family. I had to grow up fast. At 15, I was making decisions as if I were 22 or 24. I had to take very difficult steps for my future to support my family." Anderson's perseverance paid off. Armed with both incredible drive and undeniable talent, he made his professional debut for Gremio on October 23, 2004, at just 16 years old. In that first game, he scored a stunning free kick, signaling the start of a meteoric rise. Although Gremio suffered relegation to Brazil's second division just a month later, Anderson continued to shine. Week after week, he dazzled spectators and tormented defenders with his vision, skill, and goal-scoring prowess. His performances caught the attention of European scouts, and before he jetted off to represent Brazil in the U17 World Cup in Peru, Anderson secured a transfer to one of Europe's top clubs for developing South American talent. The fee, a staggering $7 million, a monumental sum for such an inexperienced player, but one that seemed justified given his immense potential. Anderson didn't disappoint at the U17 World Cup. He scored twice, earned the tournament's Best Player award, and showcased his extraordinary abilities on the global stage. Unfortunately, his campaign ended on a bittersweet note when Brazil lost the final, a match Anderson had to exit early due to injury. Thus, by the summer of 2005, the stage was set for Anderson's remarkable journey in Europe to begin. Chapter 2. Anderson's legendary farewell at Gremio. At this point, the hype surrounding Anderson was nothing short of extraordinary. The young prodigy was seen as the future of global football, and Europe was eagerly awaiting his arrival. However, before boarding his flight to Portugal and embarking on his European adventure, the 17-year-old had one final mission to accomplish with his boyhood club, Gremio, to secure their return to Brazil's top flight. The stakes couldn't have been higher. That season, the battle for promotion was fiercely contested and came down to the final match. Gremio needed only a draw against Náutico to seal their return to the first division. But what unfolded that day would become one of the most dramatic moments in Brazilian football history. With just 10 minutes remaining, disaster struck. Gremio conceded a penalty in what seemed to be a fatal blow to their promotion hopes. Chaos ensued as tempers flared, resulting in a brawl that led to 3 red cards for Gremio. Reduced to just 7 players against Náutico's 11, the situation looked hopeless. If Náutico converted the penalty, Gremio's dreams of promotion would be over. But football has a way of defying expectations. Against all odds, Nautico missed the penalty. Seizing the moment, Anderson orchestrated a breathtaking counterattack. Displaying remarkable composure and skill, the teenager scored the goal that would forever cement his legacy at Gremio. In one of the wildest chapters in Brazilian football, Anderson, at just 17 years old, delivered a legendary promotion for his club, creating a moment that would be etched in history. It was the perfect farewell for the young star as he closed his Gremio chapter and prepared to open a new one on the other side of the Atlantic. Chapter 3. From Golden Boy to a career full of regrets. In January 2006, as expected, Anderson finally joined FC Porto after his transfer was announced 7 months earlier. His arrival was met with immense expectations, with fans and experts alike dubbing him the next Ronaldinho. However, Anderson's first few months in Portugal were far from smooth. It wasn't due to poor performances, but because he didn't play at all. Porto had bent FIFA's transfer rules regarding minors to secure his move, even relocating Anderson's family to Portugal to ease the transition. To avoid complaints from rival clubs about the irregularities of the transfer, Porto's management decided to wait until Anderson turned 18 before officially fielding him. Once Anderson made his debut after turning 18, the wait proved worthwhile. His performances were breathtaking, showcasing his trademark bursts of speed, technical brilliance, and daring dribbles. The young Brazilian quickly became Porto's creative fulcrum, wearing the number 10 jersey and even making his debut in the Champions League. His rise, however, was abruptly halted by a rough tackle that sidelined him for 6 months. This injury would haunt Anderson throughout his career, significantly impacting his trajectory. Despite the setback, Anderson's youth and athleticism allowed him to recover swiftly. By April 2007, he was back on the pitch, dazzling with his skills and reigniting interest from European giants like Chelsea and Real Madrid. His incredible displays in the Primeira Liga earned him widespread acclaim, culminating in his transfer to Manchester United in May 2007 for a hefty fee of $32 million. Sir Alex Ferguson and his recruitment team were convinced of Anderson's extraordinary potential, with scouts comparing him favorably to Wayne Rooney at the time. At Manchester United, Anderson quickly adapted to his new environment, transitioning to a deeper midfield role to compensate for the slight loss of pace caused by his injury. He became a fan favorite at Old Trafford. His control, vision, and composure helped him secure a key role in United's midfield. In his debut season, Anderson contributed to United's Premier League title and played a crucial part in their Champions League triumph. His nerveless penalty in the shootout against Chelsea during the 2008 Champions League final showcased his confidence and fearlessness. That same year, Anderson was awarded the prestigious Golden Boy Award, recognizing him as the best young player in Europe, ahead of Theo Walcott and Sergio Aguero. He was seen as one of the brightest talents in football, adored by United fans who created a chant in his honor. However, unbeknownst to many, Anderson's peak had already passed, and his career was about to take a downward turn. The injury he sustained at Porto continued to plague him, resurfacing frequently. Over the next few years, Anderson's career was marred by a string of injuries, including torn knee ligaments and persistent hamstring problems. These physical setbacks severely limited his appearances for United, although he occasionally flashed his old brilliance. Like in his 2011 Champions League semi-final performance against Schalke, he struggled to maintain consistency. Unfortunately, Anderson's lack of professionalism compounded his injury woes. Known for his love of partying and unhealthy eating habits, particularly his obsession with McDonald's, he failed to uphold the discipline required of a top-level athlete. Former Manchester United fitness coach Mike Clegg later revealed, Anderson could have been one of the best in the world, but he chose not to work hard. He loved to party, and his poor diet and lack of fitness took a toll on his body. Despite Sir Alex Ferguson's belief in Anderson's potential, his injuries and poor conditioning made it difficult for him to sustain any momentum. Following Ferguson's retirement, Anderson's decline accelerated. Loan spells at Fiorentina failed to reignite his career, and he eventually returned to Brazil with Internacional, where he experienced the humiliation of relegation. His subsequent stints at Coritiba and Adana Demirspor in Turkey were equally underwhelming. By 2019, Anderson retired at just 32 years old, his immense promise unfulfilled. What could have been a brilliant career ended prematurely, weighed down by injuries, poor lifestyle choices, and a lack of discipline. While Anderson's talent was undeniable, his inability to fully commit to the demands of professional football ultimately hindered him from realizing his true potential. Chapter 4. Anderson's Descent into Hell. A few months after retiring, Anderson's name resurfaced, but sadly not for the right reasons. The former Brazilian star found himself embroiled in legal trouble, accused of embezzling and laundering over $5 million through a dubious cryptocurrency scheme. This scandal has put him at risk of facing a prison sentence of up to 10 years. Adding to his woes, Anderson is reportedly facing time behind bars following a conflict with his ex-wife. Anderson was a mesmerizing talent on the pitch, a true firecracker whose flair and creativity once promised a glittering career. However, That same wild spirit, combined with a lack of discipline, meant he was ill-suited to the demands and rigor of professional football. What could have been a legendary career, full of accolades and achievements, was derailed by inconsistency, injuries, and poor life choices. Sadly, Anderson's story is far from unique, echoing a pattern seen in the careers of many talented Brazilian players who struggled to navigate the pressures and responsibilities of top-level football. It's a tale of what could have been, one that leaves fans lamenting the unfulfilled potential of a player who was once destined for greatness.